Hey everybody, hope you all are doing well and welcome back to Whiskey Wanders. And when I tell you that we have an amazing wander for you, boy, we have a spectacular wander for you today. In fact, it was so good we had to split it up into part one and part two. And I'll let you decide which one is the A team and which one is the B team of the bottles. Now, the reason being, for so much good whiskey, bourbons, Japanese whiskeys, ryes, all in one place, is because it was a grand opening of a Costco in Queens Creek, Arizona. And Costco pulls out all the stops whenever they do a grand opening because they know the whiskey lovers, well, they're going to be coming. So today we are talking about the preponderance of whiskey that was available at this Costco grand opening, including things like E.H. Taylor's, Midwinter's Night's Drams, Yamazaki's Elijah Craig 18, and so much more. Now, before we get to it, though, if you like these videos, if you like the wanders, if you like the hauls, the reviews, the unbottlings, the unboxings, and really all the amazing stuff we got cooking up for you, and we have a ton of amazing stuff cooking up for you, don't forget to like and subscribe, because it does actually really help the channel out a lot. Again, thank you so much for that. But also, you can get notifications when our newest videos come out on Sundays, and like this one, sometimes in between. All right, now, let's get down to the video. So with such an epic wander, part one, sort of a mini haul even, I guess, I think it really justifies something a bit more out of the ordinary for our whiskey check today while we're all getting warmed up and while I'm all getting warmed up. So today I'm going to be enjoying something from our Beyond section in the collection, RIP Bed Bath & Beyond. So today I'm going to be drinking some of this Redbreast 21. Yeah. Man, I'll be sad once this one's all gone. So let's get a glass here and see if we can get just a pop. Well, turn it over, make sure we get it on both sides. See if we can get a pop. Nah. Let's get some of this Irish goodness here. A little juice for myself. And to whiskey. Because honestly, you can never drink too much of it. You can only just drink it too fast. Cheers. Ooh, man, that is good. All right, so first up for today's epic wander is from a line of whiskeys that I am always super surprised that I enjoy as much as I do, which is this Booker's. Now, in this case, it is the Kentucky Tea Batch from the quarter of 2022. And just in case if you are wondering, Booker's, the Kentucky Tea, gets its name because Booker's, the namesake of Booker's, enjoyed to drink what he called Kentucky tea, which is 1/4 of bourbon and 3/4 of water, which sounds pretty delicious. I might have to try that. Now, the reason that I'm really surprised about how much I enjoy the Booker's line overall is because, honestly, I'm not a huge fan of Jim Beam. I'm more of a Jack Daniels man myself. But Booker's is not the same, kind of obviously, as Jim Beam. It's a complete different class and level of whiskey. This one specifically is quarterly released, and I guess in terms of production, it would be considered like a boutique style of whiskey, especially in comparison to the volumes that are done by Jim Beam. This batch specifically is made from whiskeys collected from the vast and disparate warehouses available to Booker's. And in fact, there are whiskeys that come from the warehouses 5X, D, 1Q, and Z. Also, your car is parked in a no parking zone if you can move it. 5X, D, 1Q, Z. The mash bill on it is 77% corn, 13% rye, and 10% malted barley. Now, we can see the price on this Booker specifically here at Costco is at $84.99 at the grand opening, which is a pretty good price considering what you can find it here at Bevmo in California for $109.99, or currently at Total Wine, you can find it for $99.99. I think we actually picked up one of the other ones for that price. So picking this one up here at the Costco at the grand opening means that we end up saving $9 off the Total Wine price, which is the next lowest price, or 10.59%. Now, the ABV on the Booker's Kentucky Tea is a very, very healthy 63.25%. You can see that right there. That comes out to 125.5 proof. In the tasting notes that I could find on it, since obviously it's not opened yet, is that it has a maxed out oak palate with flavors like burnt sugar, cake frosting vanilla, an eclectic mixture of baking spices, powdered chocolate, and wood ash, which all sound pretty good. The overall scores that I could find on this batch specifically had it at 88 points. Again, a pretty good score out of 100. And in fact, most of the whiskeys in this Wander that you're going to see, all of them come out with pretty high scores. I think that all of the ones we bought are pretty popular. So this one obviously was going to be a buy, and I'll tell you what, look forward to trying it, especially in comparison to some of the other Booker's we already have. So that is the Booker's Kentucky Tea. All right, so next up is a whiskey that is not what I would think as the average affair. One, because it is not from Kentucky. Two, it's not purely what you would call bourbon. And three, because it does have a flair for the dramatic, which is this Midwinter's Night Dram. Now, Midwinter's Night Dram is an annual release that is pretty highly allocated out of the Utah-based distillery High West. In fact, it is basically just the normal Rendezvous rye that they put out all the time, but it is finished in port cask, which gives it this very beautiful kind of red hue and luxurious flavor. This bottle specifically is the Midwinter's Night Dram Act 10 Scene 1, which you can see there. And it has a mash bill of two different whiskey distilleries. So 80% rye and 20% malted barley from High West whiskey. And then it's combined with MGP whiskey that is made up of 95% rye and 5% malted barley, which is part of what I think actually makes it so enjoyable, is because of that kind of complex mixtures of whiskeys all swirling around in there. The price that we see it here at Costco is at $118.99, which again is going to be lower than the cost you're going to find pretty much anywhere else, and magnitudes lower than where you're going to get it if you tried to buy it on the secondary market. I think we have an Act 10 Scene 3 that we had gotten previously. So it's Act 10 Scene 3. And we got this one for $139.99 from Total Wine. And I've seen it as high as at Bevmo for $149.99. So by getting this one at Costco, we end up saving about $21 off the California price that we got it for at Total Wine, or 17.65%. I'll put this over here. Now the ABV on this Midwinter's Nights Dram is at 49.3%. And this is one that I have enjoyed a couple times, as you can see here. And to me, it really has a really specific winter feel to it. It is sophisticated. It is a beautiful concoction, but it is kind of dark and brooding. It has flavors like rye spice with smooth, custardy goodness. And it feels to me like, I guess the way I describe the taste is like a British raspberry jam. That's exactly what it is. The only thing that I go back and forth on this one is going to be on the ABV, because it is kind of low for bourbon. Because sometimes I think, you know what, it is the right amount and it allows all the flavors to really show their full potential. But other times, I always find myself wanting, a little bit more ABV oomph to it. The scores that I could compound on it, including my own scores that I threw in there, puts at an average of 86 points out of 100, which is... It is kind of low considering how much hype this bottle actually gets. And I think that I would probably put it at 87 or maybe even 88. But 87, sort of kind of fair, I guess, if you're having everyone else's opinion in there. So again, this was another whiskey that was a buy. And honestly, spoiler alert, they're all going to be buys in this one. So that is the Midwinter's Nights Dram Act 10 Scene 1. Yeah. This third whiskey is a whiskey that is one of my all-time favorites, especially when I'm drinking bourbon. In fact, it's probably the first one that I reach out to each and every time, which means that we end up going through it quite quickly, which is going to be this E.H. Taylor small batch. Now, E.H. Taylor is funny because it's not hard to get, per se. I don't know if I would call it hard to get, but it's definitely not easy to get it. And so also, whenever I see an opportunity to pick some up, especially at a very good price, I almost always do pick some up, because for someone who drinks it as much as we do and as fast as we do, it never hurts to have a little extra in reserve just for one of those rainy days. And in the packaging, it makes a pretty cool gift. E.H. Taylor overall is kind of a niche brand that is in the Buffalo Trace stable. It's named after a former owner of Buffalo Trace, or what would eventually become Buffalo Trace, Colonel E.H. Taylor, not a real colonel. But the thing is, he looks really good in a top hat. Definitely. It has a mash bill of Buffalo Trace's mash bill numero uno, or the low rye mash bill, that is purported to be at 75% corn, 10% rye, and 15% barley, allegedly. And even though it does not have an age statement on it, and it is the first level of E.H. Taylor whiskey, it is damn fine stuff. And it really tastes a lot older than it leads on, and in my opinion, it swings well above its weight class. Now here at Costco, which by the way, I have never seen E.H. Taylor for sale at Costco on this side of the Colorado River, so I'm not sure why that is, but at this Costco in Arizona, we can see that it is priced at the rock bottom price of $32.99, which is more than fair, especially considering I think we got another one of these at Total Wine recently for $44.99 here in California. So picking it up, we did end up saving $12 off the California price, or 36.37%. Not too bad. The ABV on the H. Taylor a small batch is at 50% because it is bottle and bond, so that's 100 proof. And the tasting notes on it, at least the ones that I have, is that there is a very strong brown sugar sweetness, a beautiful dusty cornness, which I really, really like, and an above average ABV presence with char and vanilla, and what I would describe as slightly overbaked raisins. The average scores that I could find, including mine, thrown into the averages there, is going to be 88 points out of 100. And for me, at $32.99, this is definitely a buy all day, every day, twice on Tuesday. So that is the Colonel E.H. Taylor small batch. All right, so let's move on to some of the more heavy hitters of this wander. Whiskeys that have age statements and that start to get up there in price. And in the case of this next one, had been hand selected by the folks at Costco Queens Creek for its goodness, which is this next one, Jack Daniel's Single Barrel Select. Now, Jack Daniels and I, like I said, and I've mentioned it multiple times, we have a pretty old relationship that swerves kind of back and forth over the line of love and hate. But really only lately have I started to pick up some of the more kind of higher end products out of Jack Daniels. And I'm finding that obviously it is not fair to paint them all with the same brush as normal Jack Daniels number 7. I mean, sure, both the Lamborghini Aventador and the Volkswagen Tiguan are technically owned and created by the same company, but they are definitely not in the same weight class, and so goes with this Jack Daniels Single Barrel. This one specifically gets a very Flavor Flav style chain that you can see on here. I think it's pretty funny. I like that it's actually metal though. And I like that it also has a provenance with it. So it's not just a nameless Jack Daniels, faceless Jack Daniels that you get from number 7. In fact, this one specifically was barrel number 22-06084, bottled on 7/29/2022, and from Barrel House 2-04. Obviously, being a single barrel, it came from one single barrel, which was new charred oak, and it has a mash bill of 80% corn, 8% rye, and 12% malted barley, which, if I'm not mistaken, is the exact same one as normal Jack Daniel's number 7, but it does have a significantly higher ABV on it. The price that we see this Jack Daniel's Single Barrel Select here at Costco is at $38.99, which is a bit more than what I've seen it for here in Costco in California. I think it was for $34.99, or even at Total Wine, who has it at $56.99. But by picking it up here at Costco, Arizona, it means that we did end up overpaying by just a smidge at $4, or 10.26%. So not too much dollar-wise, but percentage-wise, kind of a lot. Now, the ABV on this Jack Daniel's Single Barrel is actually pretty good, at least for Jack Daniel's standards, at 47%. And the tasting notes on the Single Barrel really emphasize Runts banana flavor, like Runts, those little candies you get, you put the quarter in and you turn it. The classic Jack Daniel's flavors, which are more dominant in this version, also with like dehydrated winter fruits, wafers, Tootsie Rolls, oak, and an overall flavor, to his downside, I guess, that isn't as pronounced as what folks thought they were going to get on the nose. So this one will be really interesting to see how the flavor tastes when we get a chance to try it. Now, the scores I could find on it were at 84 points out of 100, which I guess within these bottles in this Wander is not stellar. But again, I'm always ready to give Jack Daniels a little bit of leeway considering our long-term relationship. And this one obviously was a buy as well, because like I said, after seeing that there are so many other offerings on the higher end from Jack Daniels, it's definitely something I want to give a try and start moving up that ladder as well. So that is the Jack Daniel's Single Barrel Select. All right, second to last is another whiskey that I almost always jump at a chance to pick up, even if it's not the best price in this case. because it doesn't seem to last long in our household, like the E.H. Taylor, but more so because we both drink this one, which is going to be this Yamazaki 12. Now, I often notice that I talk about Yamazaki maybe at least once a month. It always feels like a bit on the top of my mind, probably because I really enjoy it, and probably because we're drinking it at least, once a week. I mean, especially in a world where there are all sorts of crazy Japanese-esque, Japanese-ish, pseudo-Japanese whiskeys that are coming even out of Japan. It is nice to have one that is actually Japanese whiskey. So that is Yamazaki 12, obviously. It is the most popular whiskey out of Suntory's playbook. And this one is obviously aged 12 years old. It is the first of the age statement whiskeys that you're going to get out of Yamazaki, and is really a counterpoint to Suntory's other very popular, younger, and in my opinion, equally good whiskey, the Higushu 12. You can see the similarities there. The Yamazaki 12 is aged in sherry, ex-bourbon, and Mizunara oak barrels. It is composed of 100% barley, and again, this is another one that is not allocated. I wouldn't call it allocated, but unless you are quick, it'll be gone real quick. So this is where the stumbling point happens with this one, because the price that we actually see here is surprisingly bad for Costco. We see it at $137.99, which is above what we normally see it here in California at the Costco's, where we saw the last one at $99.99. We bought the last one, not this one, but the last one at $99.99, and it's actually been at that price for multiple years. So I don't know what's going on there, but it still beats out the Total Wine price, which we saw at $159.99. So it's got that going for it. Ultimately, though, as a result of getting this one in Arizona, and it was just one of those kind of, Pavlovian reactions to pick it up, we did end up overpaying the Costco price by $38, or percentage-wise, 27.54%, which is, a lot. The ABV on the Yamazaki 12 is at 43%, which you can see right there, which is about normal. And really, for most popular Japanese whiskeys, they're never going to be ABV monsters. But the palate on the Yamazaki 12, that is where things start to get real good. There are light oak flavors. Definitely you get some of that Mizunara influence, as well as a creaminess and a flash of cherry cask flavor infused in there, cocoa powder, and what I would describe as dragon fruit sweetness, and vanilla, and a hint of cloves. It's just delicious. Now, despite having the low ABV, I find it very well balanced. I think that it was a high ABV, it would definitely be off balance. The scores on it, including mine, on average, come out to around 89 points, which, again, justified. And this one for me is a buy, even one who probably shouldn't have bought it at $137. In fact, at $137, don't buy it, but I did buy it, so it's one of those things like, do as I say and not as I do. All right, so last up today is a whiskey that is exceedingly hard to find, at least at a reasonable price, at least here in California. And when you do see it at Costco, it almost always comes in really minuscule amounts, which is, now the Elijah Craig 18 is one of the many really heavily pursued whiskeys that tend to come out of Heaven Hill. I think right now the 18 is the oldest version that is still in production, as some of the older versions, like the 20 and the 21, those have all been cut off for the time being. This one specifically is barrel 5933. It was bottled on 6/7/2022, and it is a single barrel and has a mash bill of 78% corn, 12% malted barley, and 10% rye. This one was just one of the handful that was actually available at the event. So by the time I'd actually gotten it and taken it up the front and paid for it and have a chance to go back to get more footage, they were all gone. But we got this one at the Costco event for $139.99, which I think is pretty fairly priced. There is something wrong when you can get a 12-year-old Yamazaki for nearly the same cost as you can get an 18-year-old Elijah Craig. That just doesn't seem to be right. Now, I couldn't find any current prices that were available for Elijah Craig 18 because I guess they just don't make that much of it. But we had picked another one of these up previously last year as a package deal. It came with an Elijah Craig package all put together. We paid $399 for all the bottles, including the Elijah Craig 18. But even now, at local liquor stores, I just saw the other day, I saw just for this bottle only by itself was $399. So needless to say, getting it at Costco, we saved a bunch of cash. And if we just want to look at the numbers just for kicks, because it's not fair. Local liquor stores are always going to price kind of ridiculously. But just in case, the difference between the local liquor store and Costco, was $260 in difference and a comical 185.73% percentage-wise difference in price. So I don't know. Maybe they were expecting people to negotiate and set the price high and they negotiate low, but I don't know. Now, the ABV on this Elijah Craig 18 is at 45%. And you can see that right there. And that's about 90 proof, which is not really that impressive for bourbon. But in the tasting notes, it really does tout how well balanced and how nuanced of a bourbon that it is. It also mentioned things like brown sugar, caramel, mixed fruit cup level of sweetness, medium-bodied toffee, light spice, and a very well-balanced profile. So maybe that has to do with the lower ABV. Sometimes when you have that high ABV, it's hard to level everything else out. But overall, I am definitely willing to give this one a shot. It sounds delicious, and I look forward to trying it. Oh, the average scores on it that we found was at 88 points, which is reasonable, sort of underwhelming for what it is. But, again, this is going to be another one which is going to have to be a judge for herself. So this one for me was a buy primarily because of the price and because of the good scores and the reviews that I saw on it. I'm sure glad to have gotten it and been able to pick it up. So that is the Elijah Craig 18. All right, so that is the part 1 of our Whiskey Wanders at the Costco Queens Creek Grand Opening. And like I said, this is actually going to be the junior varsity team of bottles. We saved the big boys for part 2, which we are going to have coming out later on this month. But if you enjoyed this video, if you like the Wanders, and if you like the hauls, and if you like the reviews, and the unbottlings, and unboxings, and really all the amazing stuff we got cooking up for you, don't forget to like and subscribe. Because again, it does really help us out. And again, thank you so much for that. But also, it is good for your whiskey mojo. It might get you a little bit of extra luck when you go out there looking for whiskey. And also, you get notifications when our newest videos come out on Sundays, sometimes in between. Now, just remember, if you do find a whiskey that you love, just buy it. Because if you don't, somebody else surely will. And in this case, might even be me. All right, everybody, I'm out. Have a great rest of your week, and adios.